Flying machines, aren't they something very interesting? Actually, until recently, I have not built a single flying machine in Minecraft ever. And because I needed one for a farm that I wanted to build, I really had to look into how to build them. And usually, I don't like to just copy tutorials, but I like to actually understand what is happening. So let's take a look here in slow motion. For showcasing purposes, I built a flying machine with only one of the observers, so it's not going to continue. But this observer is going to power this slime block, and then by that also powering the piston when it gets updated, just like this. And if it gets updated again, it will pull it back in this case. And it looks a little bit funny with it sticking out to the top, but we can also make it a little bit different, more simple in a way. If we power the slime block, it gets activated. And if we use an observer instead, it's the same effect. And in editing, I just realized that I missed something very important. The observer creates a tick that is so short that it actually triggers the sticky piston only pushing it forward, but it's not going to pull it back. This is obviously very important for these flying machines, otherwise they would just stick in one place. What the flying machine now is basically doing, it's triggering the back one, and then it's triggering the front one, and it pulls the other part back. But since the observers are attached to the slime blocks, it's actually going to automate itself. We can theoretically also place the observer at a different part of the sticky piston, be it on the side, for example. Or we could even put it on the front, on the back. Alright, now that we know how to build a flying machine and we can send it from one place to the next, and it's getting stopped by some kind of obsidian, some kind of immovable block, we can send it back again, but maybe we just want to automate this so we can have a farm, and the most famous one being bamboo or sugarcane, where we attach slime blocks to the side and these slime blocks kind of cut down the bamboo or the sugarcane. We want to trigger this observer whenever something arrives. One design that I often see uses a trapdoor, but I actually like note blocks because I think they are quite fun. A note block is one of these blocks that is really useful because you can just right click it and it changes its state, and so it sends a signal. But now we want to automate the update of the note block, and that's actually not too difficult. We'll just recognize when the flying machine is incoming, it will power this obsidian block, and we will send the signal back into the note block. And we need a little bit of a delay so that the flying machine doesn't get stuck. And this is already the return system. Let's test this. And here we go, and it even makes a funny sound. We can turn off the system if we just put a lever here and power the signal, because now another update is not going to change anything. Now when the flying machine arrives, it should not return. Let's hope I'm actually telling the truth. Yes, here we go. I built the same return station on the other side. It is actually super important to use obsidian here, because if you don't, the flying machine is just going to push through. We can start the flying machine easily by just triggering the lever again. And now it should come back and forth and back and forth. If you want to prolong the return, you can just build a simple clock like this, and it would be waiting a little bit, and you can make the clock even longer. Just so if you have a farm, you don't want to run it all the time, but maybe every 2 minutes, you could just put a hopper timer or something a lot slower than this. Well, this is a funny contraption. I was actually going to show how to do this on a vertical level because I just find it very interesting, and it's not as simple as you think. You can't just take the design from the horizontal layer to the vertical layer. This would be the translation one by one into the vertical layer, and this just doesn't work. See and watch. Look and watch. I don't know what to say. So we need a little bit of a different design, but many people have already come up with this. This is not my design, but I thought it was interesting because my first... Let's break this. My first deep dive into flying machines, I just couldn't not ask the question how to do this vertically. I think the design, if I'm informed correctly, is by Mambo Jumbo, but here we go. So it looks a little bit different, but in principle, it's almost the same. There's just one funny thing about the observer on top. So how is this observer powering this piston? It doesn't really make sense, does it? Well, here we come into territory of quasi connectivity, and I'm not going to explain a lot right now, just the basic principle. If you have a block that is diagonally above and you power it like this piston is not getting powered right now. But if we update this block by, for example, placing a block next to it, it suddenly gets the power. And now we can actually remove this power source if we wanted to. And as long as we don't update this piston, it stays like this. But once we update it, it gets retracted. And it's the same principle, but with an observer, it's generating the update itself already. So it's powering and updating, powering and updating. To build it, you want to have an observer facing down, then you want to have a slime block, and then you want to have the sticky piston facing downwards. And then on the other side, we have the slime block over here, the sticky piston facing upwards like this, and the observer facing inwards to the left like this. And now we can actually start by just removing this block. The return is in principle the same. You just block it with an obsidian block or something else, and then you just trigger the observer again, and we can also automate this. Again, the principle is the same. Just here we have to be aware where the observer is looking. That's coming down. That's where the node block is. And with this observer, we are recognizing when the flying machine arrives. And I forgot to put a block on top. I'm catching you. All right, let's see it in action. And there's the return. And now we need to place a return station up there. And it looks a little bit different because this observer is facing to the side. It looks very similar to the one we had on the horizontal level, but it's a little bit different because the observer looks to the side. So we have the same principle, but then by powering this obsidian block, we are updating this redstone powder. And by that, we are triggering the flying machine again. And again, you can just use a lever to turn this return station on and off. Or you could even put it just up here or on the node block, whatever you wish. And that's it for our quick dabble into the flying machines in Minecraft. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like. And if you want to see more, maybe subscribe and let me know in the comments down below what other topics interest you, as you can see rendering glitches in the background. It's a lot of fun to me to explore these kind of things and maybe help you understand them as well. But I also play survival or hardcore Minecraft, so make sure to check out my other series as well, as I have a lot of fun making them.